You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Closeout is the final stage of a project, but it is not merely a ceremonial end. It is the process of securing formal acceptance, ensuring operational readiness, and archiving all records cleanly for governance and learning. The objective is to leave no ambiguity. The product or service is accepted, ownership is transferred, support is in place, and benefits are positioned to be realized. A project manager's effectiveness is measured not only by delivery, but also by how well the project is closed. Calm, structured closeout demonstrates professionalism and protects relationships that will continue beyond the life of the project. Artifacts are central to this process. Acceptance criteria define what counts as complete. Runbooks and support models prepare operational teams to sustain the product. Lessons learned ensure knowledge is captured for future projects. Contract files provide the legal record of obligations and warranties. Each of these artifacts must be updated, validated, and archived. They provide the evidence and traceability auditors, regulators, and sponsors expect. Without them, closeout becomes vulnerable to disputes or confusion. A project is truly complete only when deliverables, benefits, and documentation all align. The guiding principle in closeout is to choose actions that protect both benefits and relationships. A sponsor may be eager to declare victory, but operational readiness must not be sacrificed. A vendor may push for payment, but acceptance records must be complete. The operations team may want to avoid additional paperwork, but runbooks and monitoring checklists are essential. The project manager balances these pressures with a calm, conclusive tone. Closeout is less about speed and more about clarity. By ensuring artifacts are complete and decisions are documented, the manager ensures trust survives the transition. The first scenario presents a situation of partial acceptance. The sponsor wants to close with 3 minor defects still open, while the operations team signals readiness to take over. The milestone is pressing because a service-level agreement launch date is fixed, and regulators are scheduled to review the release. This creates a tension between perfection and practicality. The defects are minor but real, and proceeding without clarity could undermine compliance. The project manager must choose whether to close immediately, delay until every defect is resolved, or find a structured middle ground that honors both acceptance and evidence. The artifacts in play are the defect list, which records all known issues, the waiver or deviation form, which provides formal acknowledgement of exceptions, and the hypercare plan. Hypercare is the period immediately after go-live where heightened support is provided to address issues quickly. By consulting these artifacts, the project manager can structure a solution that satisfies both governance and delivery. The decision is not about whether defects exist, but about how they are acknowledged, accepted, and addressed within governance boundaries. Artifacts ensure that acceptance is both formal and traceable. The most responsible course of action is to obtain conditional acceptance with documented waivers for the defects and a hypercare remediation plan. This provides the sponsor with closure while ensuring that operations and regulators see evidence of accountability. The hypercare plan commits the team to address the defects promptly after go-live. Acceptance forms document that exceptions were agreed, creating a defensible record for audits. By following this path, the project manager protects compliance, secures benefits, and maintains trust. This action demonstrates that closeout can be pragmatic without being careless. Other paths carry clear risks. Closing now without documentation leaves no evidence for auditors or regulators, undermining governance. Hiding defects outright is dishonest and may lead to severe consequences if discovered later. Delaying closeout until every minor defect is resolved may be unnecessary and costly, potentially missing the SLA launch date. Each of these alternatives sacrifices either evidence, compliance, or value. By contrast, conditional acceptance with waivers and hypercare protects all three. It shows maturity, recognizing imperfection but managing it transparently through policy and evidence. This scenario also illustrates the importance of hypercare. Many projects stumble after handover because small defects or gaps erode trust quickly. By planning for hypercare, the project manager acknowledges that issues may arise and provides a structured response. Hypercare plans typically include extended support hours, quick access to development staff, and focused monitoring of critical processes. Documenting hypercare as part of acceptance demonstrates readiness and reassures both sponsors and regulators. It bridges the gap between project completion and steady-state operations, ensuring that value is preserved during the vulnerable transition. When working with vendors, conditional acceptance may take the form of contract modifications or punch list sign-offs. A punch list is a document listing minor issues to be addressed after substantial completion. Contractual clarity is essential. Payment milestones should reflect the agreed acceptance date, and warranties must remain enforceable. The project manager must ensure that deviations are formally recorded and linked to contract terms. This protects the organization's rights while preserving the vendor relationship. Trust with vendors is built not by ignoring defects, but by managing them transparently through contractual evidence. Pitfalls in this scenario are common. Assumed close occurs when teams informally declare completion without documented acceptance, leading to disputes later. Missing records create vulnerability during audits or legal reviews. Unclear ownership after handover results in defects being ignored rather than resolved. These pitfalls can be avoided by following a simple heuristic: accept formally, execute hypercare, verify remediation, and archive records. This rhythm ensures that benefits flow smoothly, compliance is honored, and future disputes are minimized. Documentation is the safety net that transforms partial acceptance into professional closeout. The broader lesson is that closeout is not about chasing perfection, but about creating transparency. Minor defects are often acceptable if they are recorded, owned, and addressed promptly. The role of the project manager is to ensure that acceptance is formal, evidence is clear, and remediation is structured. Hypercare provides the mechanism for follow-up, while archives ensure traceability. This balance allows projects to deliver value on schedule without undermining compliance. It is how professional project managers close projects calmly, conclusively, and credibly. This scenario also reinforces that closeout decisions are not isolated. They affect contracts, regulators, operations, and relationships. By consulting artifacts like defect logs, waivers, and hypercare plans, the project manager demonstrates holistic thinking. They show that every decision is linked to evidence, governance, and benefits. This is the kind of professionalism that builds confidence across organizations. Sponsors, auditors, and vendors all see the same transparent record, reducing disputes and increasing trust. This is why artifacts are so central. They are the shared language of accountability. Closeout is also about archiving cleanly. Once defects are resolved through hypercare, records should be updated, ownership confirmed, and documents archived. The archive is not just storage. It is evidence of closure. It allows future teams, auditors, or regulators to confirm what happened and why. Archiving closes the loop between delivery and governance. It ensures that knowledge is not lost, that evidence is preserved, and that benefits are traceable. Archiving is the final act of stewardship in a project manager's role. It demonstrates respect for both the work done and the accountability owed. In conclusion, the partial acceptance scenario shows that calm professionalism matters more than perfection. Conditional acceptance with waivers and hypercare preserves cadence, compliance, and value. Other paths, rushing to close, hiding defects, or delaying unnecessarily, sacrifice one or more of these dimensions. The heuristic is simple but powerful. Accept formally, manage exceptions transparently, provide hypercare, and archive cleanly. This is how projects achieve true closeout. It is not just about finishing. It is about finishing well, with evidence and relationships intact. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The second scenario explores an operational readiness gap just before go live. The support team signals that they do not yet have runbooks for troubleshooting, monitoring dashboards are incomplete, and escalation paths are unclear. Go live is only 3 days away, and the project is due to transfer ownership. The risk here is obvious. If the system goes live without operational readiness, failures will take longer to resolve, users will lose confidence, and service-level agreements may be breached. The transition from project to operations is fragile, and gaps in readiness can quickly erode the value of everything built. The constraints in this case include the imminent go-live, which leaves little time for major redesign, and a pending team changeover that risks losing key knowledge if documentation is not complete. The artifacts that matter are the runbook template, which defines standard operating procedures, the monitoring checklist, which ensures alerts are in place, the RACI chart, which clarifies who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, and the access list, which ensures the right people have the right credentials. These artifacts represent readiness, not as theory, but as evidence that operations can take over. The responsible course of action is to run a focused readiness sprint. In this sprint, the team finalizes runbooks, configures monitoring dashboards and alerts, and validates escalation paths using the RACI chart. Ownership is documented so that no critical task is left without accountability. This readiness sprint may slightly delay go live, but the payoff is high. It ensures operational stability and reduces risk of failure. Governance bodies can see evidence in the form of completed runbooks, monitoring configurations, and signed-off RACI charts. This makes the decision defensible and transparent. Other responses are much weaker. Proceeding and promising to fix later is a gamble that often leads to costly service disruptions. Transferring to operations without documentation leaves teams unsupported and sets them up for failure. Delaying indefinitely, on the other hand, overreacts and wastes momentum, undermining sponsor confidence. The balanced path is to deliver readiness in a focused burst, documenting evidence and assigning ownership. This maintains cadence, protects value, and ensures that the transition to operations is not a cliff but a managed handover. This scenario illustrates why hypercare must be complemented by readiness. Hypercare provides enhanced support after go-live, but it cannot succeed if operations lacks basic tools, procedures, and escalation paths. A readiness sprint ensures that hypercare is effective rather than chaotic. It also creates traceability. Auditors and governance bodies can see that readiness was explicitly addressed before go-live. The heuristic is clear: never hand over without runbooks, monitoring, RACI clarity, and access. Evidence of readiness is as important as evidence of delivery. The third scenario examines procurement closeout, another area where discipline matters. A final vendor invoice has arrived, but one minor deliverable remains unclear. At the same time, warranty obligations still exist, and fiscal close is approaching quickly. Sponsors are eager to close the books, but legal compliance requires that obligations be settled cleanly. The project manager must decide whether to authorize payment immediately, delay while clarifying details, or take a more structured approach that protects both rights and relationships. Procurement closeout is not just about paying bills. It is about securing evidence of completion. The artifacts in play are the statement of work, which defines deliverables, acceptance records, which prove what has been received, warranty terms, which define ongoing protections, and claim or release forms, which settle obligations. These artifacts create a defensible record that the vendor delivered what was agreed, that the organization retains warranty rights, and that no open claims remain. Without them, payment may proceed, but governance suffers and rights may be lost. Procurement closeout requires evidence as much as any technical milestone. The most responsible action is to verify acceptance by consulting the statement of work and acceptance records, clarify and resolve the open deliverable, document warranty terms, and then issue claims or releases formally. Only then should payment be authorized. This path protects the organization's rights ensures transparency with vendors, and creates evidence for auditors and legal bodies. It also preserves relationships by showing vendors that Closeout is professional and fair. Vendors want payment, but they also respect structured processes that clarify obligations. This balance demonstrates maturity in contract management. Other responses are problematic. Paying immediately and promising to sort details later risks losing leverage. Once paid, it is harder to enforce outstanding obligations. Refusing payment outright and threatening litigation escalates unnecessarily, damaging relationships and credibility. Archiving without checking ignores evidence and undermines traceability. Each of these alternatives either sacrifices compliance, damages trust, or exposes the organization legally. The structured approach, verify, resolve, document, and then pay, protects both compliance and relationships. It is slow only in appearance. In reality, it saves time by preventing disputes later. This scenario shows how procurement closeout ties into overall project closure. Deliverables are not complete until acceptance is documented. Contracts are not closed until warranties and claims are settled. Vendors are not finished until final releases are signed. These steps are not bureaucratic but protective. They shield organizations from future disputes and demonstrate professionalism. A project manager who rushes procurement closeout may appear efficient, but they create long-term risk. One who manages it deliberately ensures that benefits and relationships are safeguarded. This is the true measure of closeout. The lesson across all three scenarios, partial acceptance, readiness gaps, and procurement closeout, is that closeout is not a formality, but a structured process. Each decision must balance speed with compliance, transparency with relationships. Artifacts provide the foundation. Defect logs, waivers, runbooks, RACI charts, statements of work, acceptance records, and warranty forms. Hypercare and readiness sprints provide structured transitions. Evidence and traceability ensure audits and regulators can confirm outcomes. This discipline transforms closeout from a rushed conclusion into a calm, conclusive finish that builds trust for the future. Closeout also demonstrates the project manager's leadership style. Calm professionalism reassures stakeholders that the project has not only delivered value, but has also managed its obligations responsibly. The ability to acknowledge minor defects, ensure readiness, and close contracts cleanly shows that the manager is not rushing, but concluding with integrity. This sets the stage for future engagements with the same stakeholders or vendors, building reputation and credibility. Leadership is not only about delivery under pressure, but about closing with clarity and respect. The role of artifacts in closeout cannot be overstated. They are the shared language of accountability. Defect logs show what remains. Waivers prove that exceptions were accepted. Runbooks and RACIs demonstrate readiness. Contracts show obligations, and warranties define protections. Without artifacts, closeout becomes anecdotal and fragile. With artifacts, it becomes defensible and professional. This is why project managers must read checklists carefully, update documents diligently, and archive thoroughly. Artifacts transform closeout from an ending into a bridge between delivery and operations. Finally, closeout provides an opportunity for reflection. Lessons learned should be documented, contracts archived, and benefits forecasts updated. This reflection ensures that knowledge is not lost and that future projects start stronger. It also allows governance bodies to see not only what was delivered, but how it was concluded. Closeout, done well, demonstrates stewardship over benefits, over compliance, and over relationships. It provides the organization with confidence that the project has been completed responsibly and that value will continue into operations. Calm, structured closure is the final act of professionalism in project management. In conclusion, handover, transition, and closeout are not administrative burdens, but value-protecting steps. Partial acceptance requires documented waivers and hypercare. Readiness gaps demand focused sprints that deliver runbooks, monitoring, and escalation clarity. Procurement closeout requires verifying deliverables, documenting warranties, and issuing formal releases before payment. In all cases, evidence and traceability are the foundation. Hypercare bridges delivery and operations, while archives preserve knowledge and accountability. The project manager's role is to ensure that these processes are followed calmly, conclusively, and professionally. This is how projects finish well, protecting benefits and relationships as they transition into the future. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.